one and all, welcome to another ranking. Today, as you can see, I'll be ranking the films in the Phantasm franchise. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of this franchise, so I won't be giving rave reviews of each film. So if that might be an issue for you, then by all means click off this video. But if you can handle hearing my thoughts and feelings on each film, then keep watching as I rank these films from worst to best. In 5th place is Phantasm Ravager, also known as Phantasm V. Released in 2016, directed by David Hartman and written by Hartman and Don Coscarelli. It's the 5th and final installment in the Phantasm series, and in it Reggie is wandering through the desert seeking out his friend Mike and the evil tall man. Okay, so this is undoubtedly the most confusing one of the bunch. I really have no idea what to make of it, and yet the ending made me shed a tear. It was sad, though confusing, and really felt like a goodbye. The one thing you can take from this franchise is how they consistently use the same cast. For this one, they even brought back the original Lady in Lavender. Yeah, now I'm the Lady in Lavender. Anyway, that's not the point. So the fact it's been the same guys mostly for nearly 40 years is unbelievable and quite awesome, but I still have no idea what was going on in this film. It's the first film in the series not directed by Don Coscarelli, and it shows. Usually the films would use practical effects, but this has more CGI use, and that teamed with how it was shot made it feel and look like one of those bad mutant monster movies on sci-fi that I watch a lot. I'd say this was probably the worst of the franchise, but I admit they have a certain charm, mostly thanks to the cast. In 4th place is Phantasm, released in 1979. It's written and directed by Don Coscarelli. It follows the supernatural and malevolent Undertaker who turns the dead of Earth into dwarf zombies to be sent to his planet and used as slaves. This honestly did nothing for me, and I found it very hard to follow and get into. I did kind of enjoy the second half more though. Music was hilariously strange, that's for sure, and I didn't get the change at the end, but I will say I'm starting to think A Nightmare on Elm Street's final scene was taken from Phantasm. Phantasm had been on my watch list ever since I was watching Boogeyman the Killer compilation, and he was featured in it. The clips and the bio made him fascinating. So while I'm so glad I finally ticked him off the list, I wish the film had been as exciting as I hoped it would be. In 3rd place is Phantasm II, released in 1988 and written and directed by Don Coscarelli. It's the sequel to the 1979 film and the second installment in the Phantasm franchise. In it, the first film's protagonist, Mike, recently released from a mental institution, recruits Reggie and some new friends in an effort to defeat the villainous tall man. I found this one slightly easier to follow, though not entirely. The end of the first film cancelled out most of what happened during the rest of the film, and then the events in this film cancel out the start of the film, so I'm thoroughly confused. After that, it makes a bit more sense if I do my best to ignore those issues. Feels kind of like Supernatural. Two guys driving around the country, hunting the monster that killed their loved ones, make the car an Impala, and it really would be Supernatural. The psychic link stuff confused me as well, but as I said, it's still slightly better watch, but these films still don't make much sense to me. I think I'm just not the target audience for them. Although the dwarves in this franchise all look like Jawas from Star Wars when they have their hoodies on. In 2nd place is Phantasm IV Oblivion, also known as Phantasm Oblivion. It's released in 1998 and written and directed by Don Coscarelli. It's the 4th installment in the Phantasm series and sees Mike travel through time and dimensions to find the tall man's origins. This one was pretty slow. Again, some elements felt like they were taken from A New Hope, but for the most part, it just felt like it was taking forever to tell the story, and sometimes it was getting confusing. So for me, this was like moving backwards, not forwards. I was impressed and curious as to how they were able to have scenes with young Mike and young Jodie that were the real actors, even though they're all grown up, because de-aging technology is great, but not that great, and not in 1998 either. It's also pretty neat that Angus Scrimm has been consistently playing the tall man for all these years. That's a level of dedication I admire, and to make things more fun, this film gives him a chance to play the role differently, which I like. And in 1st place is Phantasm III, also known as Phantasm III Lord of the Dead. Released in 1994 and written and directed by Don Coscarelli. It's the 3rd installment in the Phantasm series, and in it Mike and Reggie continue to hunt the mysterious tall man, discovering along the way that the invasion has already begun. This one has some new fun characters, is easy to follow, though still makes me confused about the film, and I think it's neat how they brought back all the original cast for this one, so the whole gang is back together, which even as someone who isn't a fan, I think it's fun and touching and admirable. So I can imagine for major fans of the franchise, it was super exciting seeing all cast members reunited for this film and Ravager. What makes the final film in this series so bittersweet and more emotional is that it was the last film Angus Scrimm ever recorded before his death in 2016. As he was filming it, he was battling prostate cancer and passed away of his illness before the film was released. It's strange to think about actors or people in general just going about their lives, doing their normal routines, and behind the scenes they're fighting for their lives. It was that fact that still breaks my heart about Chadwick Boseman. You never know what someone is going through. So while I don't love these films, they're not for me and they confuse the hell out of me, I respect what they brought to the genre, I respect the work and dedication put into them, and I respect the legacy they left behind, and I can see why it still has loyal fans today. But that's it for today's video. If you have seen all the Phantasm films, then comment below and tell me how you would rank them. Thank you as always to my patrons for their incredible support. You guys rock, and remember to be kind and courteous, and I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, bye!